Welcome to Picture Book Chat, where we feature a handful of new picture books each month and discuss what makes them great. Whether you're a parent, caregiver, or teacher, you're bound to find some wonderful reading suggestions from librarians Mary Ellen Brax and Sheri Boggs.
Well, hello. Welcome to Picture Book Chat. So glad that you're visiting with us today. We have a lot of good books to talk about today. I'm Mary Ellen. I'm one of the public services managers.
And I'm Sheri Boggs. I am a librarian with the district as well.
So we have 4 great books to talk to you about today. So I'm going to start off today. The book I have is Something Someday. It's by Amanda Gorman, and the illustrator is Christian Robinson. Both of them are fantastic. I love that they've paired up. So Amanda Gorman was our presidential inaugural poet, and Christian Robinson has won Caldecott Awards.
Mhm.
So they make a great team. So what I love about this story, before I even open it up, it's about hope.
Mm-hmm.
It's about overcoming a problem. I love that problem solving. It's about community coming together. And so I just adore it. So I love that it starts off with the end papers where you see a bunch of stuff at the beginning. And then at the end, there's the result of what happens during the book. So basically it's talking about something someday, and you see a problem and you're told that it's not a problem, but you just feel like something isn't right. And then it's about this community coming together and working through it and coming up with the result that they like. I love the language in this. I mean, Amanda Gorman is just wonderful with her books for children. I really do love it. I mean,
you can tell she's a poet.
Yes, you can definitely tell she's a poet. And I mean, I love everything she does in general, whether it's for kids or adults, but I think that this was just perfect in terms of perfect length, I think, for like 4-year-olds and up.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I could see reading this in an elementary school, but I like, the hopefulness, people coming together, and that I love the illustrations. Just that they're bright, but I like the white space in the back. So the illustrations pop, whether it's something like a scene like this or something with kids in it doing something. So I think this would work well with like a kindergarten classroom, even because they talk about working together. We can fix it together. So I think there's a lot of good things about this book that you could use. What did you think?
I loved this. And the thing that I loved about it is the way that it takes these problems that seem insurmountable. And I think kids can have a lot of questions like, you see the guy in the wheelchair, like the little old lady sitting on her little walker thing. And, like I think they have a lot of curiosity about people that are alone or maybe seem on the margins of society. And,
Right.
And I think parents can sometimes have a hard time knowing what to say when kids ask about stuff like that. And I think that this book is a real answer to that feeling of hopelessness that I think we all have, like, well, what can I do? It's such a huge problem. And this book, like the answer is you can start where you're at with something small. And in this case, it's, finding a bunch of garbage in the neighborhood and like cleaning up this one little patch and like taking what you can from that that looks like they're building some raised beds, maybe in one of the panels. And, by the end, it's a garden.
And doing it a little bit at a time.
Exactly.
It's not like you have to spend, every day for, weeks and weeks, but it's just a little bit at a time can make a difference. And I think that was something that's good to talk to children about.
Yeah.
hmm So I would say a real winner.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh-huh.
love the brightness of the cover. And like we've talked about, Christian Robinson is so great. He did, I think, Last Stop on Market Street.
Yeah.
He illustrated. So I think
Right.
he's just fantastic at using like really simple shapes to
Right.
bring these stories to life. Yeah, I love this one.
Yes. Good one. So what do we have next?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Cinderella is a wonderful story, but you know what could make it better? Dogs. So as a dog lover, this immediately caught my eye, but the execution was everything that I could ever hope for. So I love the busyness of the cover. And this, of course, starts as a play on words, like poor Cinderella's in her house, the house of the evil stepmother and the stepsisters, and she's feeling pretty bad, and she's like, I just need a fairy godmother. And what shows up is a dog in a tutu, and it's her fairy dog mother.
I love that.
And at first she's a little crestfallen, and it makes the fairy dog mother feel bad. And she's like, okay, well, let's see what you can do. And look at her. I love that. So I love what this does. It's kind of a fractured fairy tale, and it kind of takes the familiar steps of the Cinderella story and gives them like a dog focus. And my favorite thing is when she asks, are you going to help me get ready for the ball? And the fairy dog mother's like, ball? I'm like looking around. So that's a lot of fun. She needs a dress, so the fairy dog mother finds this dog blanket for her to wear and says, doesn't it smell divine? She gives her kind of a poodle hairdo. Everything's kind of like from a dog's idea of perfection. One thing we were talking about before we started taping is I didn't notice when I first read this, but I love that the stepmother's house is full of these cats.
Yeah, it's all cats.
Like completely the wrong place for Cinderella. It's like they're on the bed. They're all over the place. And so she finally gets to the ball. And I love that there's a clue right away to what the royal family is going to be like, the prince's mom and dad. There's like little dogs on the doors. And there's paintings of dogs in the house. And it turns out the royal family loves dogs. They have dozens of them. And here you can see all of them. It's really fun to go through and try to identify the breeds or like, you know, think of dogs that you know and like which ones look like them. It's great fun. At the end, he, just like in the fairy tale, asks her to marry him. And she's like, well, I hardly know you. Yeah. But chasing squirrels is fun. Let's do that. Yeah. So I thought it was just a really fun, playful take on Cinderella. And I think that kids that love dogs will have a lot of fun with this. What did you think? Yeah, I thought the same thing. If they love fairy tales, if they love animals, I think this will be a big hit for them all. I would think my boys would have even liked this when they were younger too, just because there's a twist to it. I think that would have been really ideal for them too. And they love dogs, so it would be a fun one to do. I think it'd be great for that 4-year-old age and up. It might be a little long for a 3-year-old, you know, there's always the exceptions, right? That you get the 2-year-old and the 3-year-old that will sit through any story, no matter how long it is. Probably my daughter would have sat through this whole book at 3. But I think generally you're probably safe with 4 and up. It would be nice to do something with just like the different versions of Cinderella. So this would be really nice to add to that in talking about the fairy tale. I love that they had her love to run, like the dogs love to run. So there were a couple of things in there just personality wise with her that I really liked. She's not passive. No, she's like howling at the moon. She's running. She's chasing squirrels. She's asking questions. You know, she's not just doing what the fairy godmother says. She goes, but I thought I was supposed to have a pumpkin and a coach, and you know. And when they say let's run, she goes, oh, okay, I like that. So yeah, I thought it was a really fun one. I think the illustrations are great too. There's a lot of detail in them. So I could see reading this with a group, but I think one-on-one too would be great to pick things out of the story. You know, kids could make up their own fractured fairy tales after reading something like this too. So, you know, what other fairy tales do you like? What other animals could we, you know, Cinderella with hamsters? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I thought that was great. And it's by Linda Bailey.
And the illustrator is Freya, is it Hartas? Which I thought was really, they did a nice job together on it. So I thought that, really catches your attention.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. It's a winner.
It's a winner. Yes.
What's next?
The next one we have is, let's see if I can get this straight. I always want to go the opposite way. The North Wind and the Sun by Philip Stead. So it's a seasonal book, but it's all about the struggle between the sun and the wind. So basically, it's that winter's trying to come in. So they do start off with a trio of sisters, and they all have their different coats that they're getting ready as the season changes. I love the artwork in this too. It's nice and soft. It's a mix of like colored pencil and crayon there.
I love their knee socks.
Yes, with the little stripes on them.
Great detail.
But it's all about the wind and the sun start to argue. There's some places where you have to turn the book around, and yes, let's see, we just upside down. And so they're looking up in the tree, and they talk about what's going to happen, and the wind starts blowing, and the wind starts talking about like, well, I've blown down castles before, sunk ships. So it's quite lovely. Let's see if I got this the right way. I think I did. But they talk, and when the wind starts blowing, the birds all fly away. And I love this picture in particular. I liked because you almost see the movement as they're going, flying away, and just how the birds are all connected with the lines. I thought was really interesting. And they talk about, when the sun will try and then it gets warm again. So it's a very different take on the traditional seasonal stories that you might see. So I think this would be good for older kids.
Yeah.
Within there, the language is really nice in here too. They've got some great pictures of people as they, now that the sun was back out again after winter was there. It was like the old woman who left home to visit their grandchildren, and the old men who felt it were reminded to pen letters long overdue, which, I just kind of like the concept and the feel of this. And I like that they pointed out older people in the story too, which
not invisible.
Yes. So I thought they really did a nice job with this for a different take on a seasonal story. And they talk about the different colors in here too. So there's a lot you can do with this.
Yeah. What struck me about it was not just how well it works as kind of a parable for the seasons, but it's also about outlook. Their wager is they wager which one of them can get the old women to remove their coats.
Yes.
And so the wind is just trying to like blast them, and they just kind of huddle together, and they've got their patched coats that they pull around them. And I think there's like a page where they think of like warmer things that they've experienced in their life. And then of course the sun comes out,
right,
and it's just like gentle and wonderful and warm. And that's what gets them to take their coats off. But I love that it's this whole thing about kind of your outlook. Like when you were talking about the older people, like the old man who's going to pen his letters that are overdue, and the old woman's going to go visit her grandchildren. In an earlier page, when the north wind is blowing, they're both thinking about sad, bitter things. Like I think he's thinking of old arguments, and she's thinking of people she hasn't heard from in a long time. And I just think it's this wonderful, almost social emotional book of like, not just weather, but like weathering things that happen in life. And how your outlook makes such a huge difference. I just love the gentleness of the illustration. I love a lot of the stuff Philip Stead does. But something about this, I just love the expressions of the sun and the wind, and like there's some subtlety there, and I feel like it's got some lasting power. It's like a really wonderful kind of fable.
And I loved how the three sisters stayed so positive during the transition from, warmer weather to colder weather to warmer weather again. Yeah. Too, that they seem like a very positive trio of of women as they go through the season. So, yeah, I thought it was very nice. It was very different than what I expected, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready for our last book?
I'm ready.
This is one of my favorite books of the entire year, I think. This is Tokyo Night Parade. And this is the story of the Night Parade of 100 Demons, which I'd never heard of before. I thought it was an actual parade that happens in Japan. I spent a lot of time yesterday looking it up, and it turns out it's an idiom, like it's a saying, the way we would say, bedlam or pandemonium. It's an expression that they have for craziness. But in this story, it's a moment where the real world and the world of the spirits overlap. And this little girl has just, she's back in Tokyo, excuse me, where her family's from. She's visiting her grandfather. And this is her favorite night. And a reviewer kind of compared this to Where the Wild Things Are meets Spirited Away.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
It's, like this imaginary voyage or event that happens, but with a very Japanese flair. So the illustrations, like you can see, are just
they're gorgeous.
amazing.
The color story is just, I love it in this book. It just works really nicely to evoke that nighttime feeling.
Yeah, it feels like animation cells. Like it's just, and I love the kind of play with, like you were talking about the color story, like the warmth and the night. She's dressed like a kitsune, I think is the word, like a little fox. I love that she's got a little dachshund with her. And so she goes out and she meets these creatures that she remembers. And these are all, they're not demons the way we would think of demons here in the West. Like demons is more of a word for spirits. So these are just spirits of things. Like spirits of animals, spirits of household things. I love these wonderful kind of food dogs, which those are Chinese. I'm kind of mixing my metaphors, but I love, they're just these gorgeous images. So you just see them going down the street. And I love this panel because she lives in New York, they can't cross over the ocean. So she's missed them. She hasn't been able to see them the whole time she's been in New York. And so I love this kind of, the mix of cultures and like missing a place that you're from and getting to go back there. But then also this trip to the imagination. It's just wonderful. What did you think?
It's delightful. Yeah, I loved it on a lot of different levels. And once again, I think it's a good one for older kids.
Yeah.
Just because the text can be a little lengthy there, but it's great. I really liked with the illustrations too, like it's nighttime. A lot of times when you see nighttime pictures, it seems cold but there's a warmth to them at the same time. Like I love this one because it almost seems like you can sense that there's glowing and, the things in the pond are glowing. So, and I think just from an artistic standpoint, I really enjoyed it because it was so different from other things that I've seen. In terms of the text, I think it's got some great language in there for kids too. So I think this would really enrapture a lot of kids. And I just think the character of the little girl is just, she's adorable. And you can't help but love her. So I think this would be a really fun read. I think there'd be a lot of kids that really like this one.
It's magical.
Yeah, magical is a great word for it. So yeah, I just think it was a fun one.
And there is a little author's note in the back about the Night Parade of 100 Demons and what it means. So that's something you can kind of talk about. And they talk about it taking place, I think, in a different city, but they decided to place it in Tokyo because I think that's where they're from. Yeah,
she said that's where she spent her own childhood. So, no, I thought this was a great one. So, a really fun one if you're looking for something different. I think this would be a good one to try and see.
Fantastic bedtime story.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you, Sheri.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Always a pleasure.
Yes, and a lot of great fun books this time. So, as always, Sheri picks out the best ones for us to talk about. So, thank you for joining us for Picture Book Chat, and we'll look forward to showing you more next month. Bye.
Bye-bye.